So flat to start with. It has some benefits right off the bat. And then as I'm in swing, especially Marty, let's say from the setup position, here I'm flat. If we fast forward it in my swing and I got to an impact position,
yes,
what changes from here?
Put both hands on it.
Yep.
So we'll actually see the wrist bone actually move up higher and more forward, and the trail elbow move down more, putting the trail forearm and shaft on plane. We'll see your center of gravity and your rotation is now pointing way more out in front of the ball. Okay, you probably would have pushed off of your back foot by now, but the micro moves with the wrist is they're going from having a little bit of cup here to now actually flattening out with a trail forearm that's bent down a little lower. A lot of people don't talk about that forearm plane, but that is what stabilizes that shaft when we impact something.
I want to talk to you today about Live View Golf. Now, you guys hear me say all the time that you need feedback when you're practicing. You need to know if you're actually doing what you're trying to do, and the best way to give yourself feedback ultimately is video. And not only is video the best way to give yourself feedback, but being able to see yourself simultaneously as you're doing a movement is the best form of video feedback. It's the best way I've seen to make changes in your swing and be able to correlate the differences between your feels and your reels. Live View is super easy to use and set up. Simply set it up behind or in front of you. You connect it with your iPad or phone, pop that on the ground. You can actually do your practice, see yourself as you're doing it, the best way to expedite your process. I encourage you guys to check out Live View Golf. We'll put a link in the description down below with a coupon code. All right, guys, so let's talk about how the wrists work in the golf swing for better compression. Now, we're out here at the Mike Bender Golf Academy in Lake Mary, Florida, not out of Bethlehem. Beautiful practice facility. As you can see, the guy over here on my side, you've seen before, Mr. Marty Nowicki. He's the owner of Impact Snap, which I know a lot of you guys have checked out, but if you haven't, we'll put a link down in the description down below. What a wonderful trainer for solidness of contact in the swing in general. And in today's video, Marty, we're going to talk about how the Impact Snap works, right? And specifically how the wrists work in the swing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And all those little micro moves that lead to us compressing the ball better.
Beautiful. All right, so let's talk about how the wrists move in the golf swing. Now, I know you and I have discussed this a little bit in the past.
Yeah.
But specifically, there's a couple things I think that I want to highlight for everyone, and we want to highlight.
Sure.
And it starts with how you hold the club at setup. Yeah. And the wrist movements during the downswing.
And even if you didn't have a club and you were watching this, just make a fist.
Fist out.
And ultimately what I'm looking to do is let's flatten the top of Eric's wrist right off the bat. So we just went from radial deviation or cocked to neutral or uncocked.
Got it.
Okay, and if it went down any further, we'd call that ulnar deviation and uncocked. But most good players, they just start with the top of the wrist flat. There might be some bend this way, but we don't see tour players starting with a lot of bend there.
Got it.
Okay, so once you take your grip, now take your grip, and you'll see tour players do this every weekend. Once they have their grip, they'll hold the club out in front of them, just let it fall a little bit. Both hands on it.
And that which is such a small topic, I just want to pause for a second because I think 98% of people watching this may have never seen, heard, or thought of that before.
Well,
this little angle.
And here's the deal. I played the third hole great, but the fourth hole, I fell apart.
Yeah.
Well, if these angles are changing from one swing to the next, your ball is likely to be changing from one swing to the next.
Got it.
So it's like once you take your grip, it's like, okay, now set the wrist conditions.
Keep that
how we want them. Absolutely.
Now, why is that important, Marty? Why do I want to have that flat? What does that lend towards later
Well,
on?
a couple things. Put both hands on it.
Yep.
So if you accidentally had, say, 15 degrees of bend there and you didn't know about it, well, that's going to force you to set up to it differently.
Yeah.
Okay.
I gotta bend
so
over
it's
there,
like, yeah. So it's like, okay, once you have the wrist, your hands set on the club, then just go ahead and flatten the top of the left wrist. You'll have a better awareness of where to even stand for the ball.
So could we say two things with that? Number one, by me setting this flat every time, makes it easier for me to set up to the ball the same every time.
Correct.
And number two would be, if this is, let's say this was hinged more, so this had an angle, I would need to bend over more at address.
100%.
And in general, you and I would say if I'm too bent over at address, that's usually going to lead to some
standing up
later issues.
Yeah.
So the other benefit would be not only can I set up the same way,
yep.
but also the more this would go vertical, so unhinged,
yep.
the kind of taller, if you would,
yes.
less bent over.
And we wouldn't want to see...
Not overdone.
Yeah, I mean, Bryson DeChambeau is kind of on the spectrum, and I'm a big believer that if a tour player is doing it, well, then I guess it's okay to do.
It can work.
If they're winning. If they're winning, and he's done a pretty good job of that.
Sure. So flat to start with. It has some benefits right off the bat. And then as I'm in swing, especially, Marty, let's say from the setup position, here I'm flat. If we fast forward it in my swing, and I got to an impact position, what changes from here?
Put both hands on it. Yep. So we'll actually see the wrist bone actually move up higher and more forward, and the trail elbow move down more, putting the trail forearm and shaft on plane. We'll see your center of gravity and your rotation is now pointing way more out in front of the ball, okay? You probably would have pushed off of your back foot by now, but the micro moves with the wrist is they're going from having a little bit of cup here to now actually flattening out with a trail forearm that's bent down a little lower. A lot of people don't talk about that forearm plane, but that is what stabilizes that shaft when we impact something.
And so even in the beginning, if I'm practicing this could be a mirror or video, I'd be willing to bet, and I'm going to be nice and conservative and say 90% of the golfing population isn't 100% aware that it's supposed to feel like this.
Also, there is a giant difference between setup and impact.
Yeah, they're not aware of that.
Yeah. And that would involve the wrist uncocking more, flexing more, grip dependent. So if you had a stronger grip, the wrist might just flatten out a little bit.
So let's do this because there's so much good here that I want to dig into that grip part. Maybe as a starting point, if I hit one or two of them.
Sure.
What someone can do is say, okay, guys, that's all cool and fine, but what do I do with this, right? I'm going to start here.
Okay, so let's take your grip.
Yep.
And here's a simple drill for us.
Yep.
So go ahead and let's find impact again. So we said the wrist is up and forward. Now we call this an impact fix setup. So I want you to set up like that.
Yep.
And now make a mini backswing and turn through one. Odds are we're gonna hit it somewhat solid.
And so what I can do, I like to repeat and simplify. If I'm in my setup position and I don't know anything about this, I'm taking my wrist and I'm going up and forward.
Up and forward.
To here.
Which gets it to uncock more and flex more.
Yep.
Okay, I'd put a little more pressure onto the left side by that point.
Right about here.
And I'll just take a mini backswing and turn and hit it. How pure was that?
Yeah.
And if you're looking for, a nice penetrating shot.
Yep.
Eric just drilled a pitching wedge about 105 yards, launching it at about 22 degrees.
And just feeling this, Marty, just getting a sense of where I'm supposed to go. I'm going to chip one here again. Just getting a sense of where I'm supposed to go. Starting there.
Another soft little draw. How pure was that?
And me hitting a couple of those to learn, regardless of where I am in my swing mechanics, regardless of what I have incorrect, if in the beginning of my practice session, I did 10 to 20 reps of that.
Look, I tell people all the time, and we coach so many people, geez, I don't have time to practice. I'm playing 9 holes a week in league or whatever. I just tell those people, look, you don't have time to practice. Start by being at impact.
Yeah, exactly.
And that will simplify so many things. It's like once you get your grip, not only flatten this angle, flatten the other angle too.
Now, would you say because I think any golfer could benefit from posing an impact, feeling the difference, and hitting shots from there?
Big time.
Okay. So what I also want to talk about, we're going to have a little break and transition here, is how the grip will affect these pieces. Okay, so we have the idea of the lead wrist here being flat at address. We talked about from address into impact, I want to go up and forward.
Correct.
Now, we know that there's different grip styles.
Yes.
So how could my grip affect what I do there?
Okay, so take your grip and just hold the golf club out in front. So for the people at home, if we put this golf club in a vise, and I said, okay, Eric, we're going to weaken your grip. Basically, that'd be taking his left hand and turning it counterclockwise as I'm looking at it.
Yep.
Okay?
Yep.
And in which case, if I see a weaker grip, that's fine, because there are tour players that play with a weaker grip, but that's going to require much more flexion or bowing of the left wrist to get our impact conditions correct.
Got it.
Okay?
Yep.
So we're going to put that club right back in a grip. Now we're going to strengthen the grip. So that's turning the lead arm clockwise.
Yep.
So now we might just see the wrist flatten out. Now it's flat, but we have the same impact conditions.
Got it. So if I'm here and I do that, I think that's such a good visual. If this is neutral, the stronger the grip I have, there's going to be more extension,
Yes.
typically, right?
Yes.
And so from there, with my face ready square, it'll be a little bit more probably just a flat,
Correct.
you said. And if I'm really weak already in the beginning and I'm over here, shoot, for me to square that thing up.
Well, you've got to really go up forward. This goes down in quite a bit.
I almost can't even
now
do
you're
it.
feeling some stretching.
And that might be like a John Rahm, old
Jordan
Spieth.
Spieth, yeah.
Yeah. So you can do it either way, right?
Yeah.
Understand that how you grip it is going to affect those. Probably be easier for the normal golfer to be in a neutral, maybe slightly stronger than neutral.
Yes.
Would you agree with that?
Yeah, so a simple way of thinking about that, let's hold the golf club back up.
Yep.
So I like to say we're going to take your hands off for 1 second.
Yep.
So the top of the grip relative to a square club face is 12 o'clock.
Okay.
6 o'clock is underneath.
Yep.
7, 8. We're going to put these top 3 joints at about 8 o'clock. So when you
okay.
squeeze it, take your thumb off. Let's play tug of war.
Yeah.
Boom. It
Have
just
control.
locks right in.
Yep, okay.
Eric's got control. I can't get it from him.
8 o'clock.
And now that hand, yeah, so basically if your last 3 ring joints
Yep.
are going on the club, not at 6 o'clock underneath the golf club,
Got it.
but more at 8 o'clock on the side of the club.
I'd never heard that before, and always little pearls of wisdom from you, Mr. Marty. Now, so let's say the take home from this, which to me the take home from this is a couple things. Number one, at the setup position, this wants to be pretty, I'm going to rapid fire these, pretty flat, right?
Correct.
When I go from here to impact, I want to feel like the hands are going up and forward relative
Yep.
to where they start. There's going to be body shit going on,
Yeah.
right? But I'm about here at
Yep.
impact. If I can pose from here and learn to make little chip shots, I would say the things you need to add in terms of feeling to hit the ball solid from there are probably the things you need to add in your normal swing to hit the ball solid. It's like a very good indicator,
Big time.
right, of the things you need to do. I love that so much, and I firmly believe of all the things we talk about, very few things apply universally to every single golfer. Very few, I think. And that's one of them that does.
I like to tell people this only applies to people who want to hit it better.
Yeah, if you want to get better at golf, this is probably a good idea. So guys, hopefully that helped. I think that's really straightforward. Short, sweet, simple. Thank you, man. That was
You're
beautiful.
welcome.
Appreciate
Good to
it.
be with you.
Thank you. Hey guys, thanks for watching this video. If you like this video, I know you're gonna love these additional videos that we'll go ahead and link on the screen, more about how the wrists work in the golf swing so you can hit it better. If you guys did like this video, do us a favor, click the like button down below, click the notification bell so you know when the videos come out, and please subscribe. Thank you guys.